Hi. Hi, I'm Fritz Erickson, president at Northern Michigan University, and welcome to parent orientation during COVID-19. This is kind of a hard thing for us to do because so many of us here at the university just absolutely love orientation. It's a chance for us to get to meet families, to talk with parents, to answer the myriad of questions about what it's like to come to Northern, what are the rules, what are the things that we provide. It's also the time where people really start connecting with one another. And one of the things about orientation when we do it face-to-face is that people immediately begin to develop amazing friendships. And we see that with our students and we see that with our families, where parents all of a sudden make lifelong friends. It's a time where we see students find their roommates, start thinking about what they want to do, change their mind for what they want to do. One of the things we've seen over the years is that students come to orientation, think they're going to major in one thing, and then turn around the very next day and change their major, which is just fine. The thing about Northern is we have a very, very strong commitment to student success. And student success for us really means graduation. And I probably say this too often, but if people ever told you that the goal was to go to college, they're wrong. The goal is to graduate from college. And that's what we are all about. We are committed collectively to making that happen for our students, to helping them get through school, to find that major, to engage in such a transformative experience. And it's so much fun for us at the university to watch our students grow and develop, and the students that come in on freshman move-in day and to see them 4 years later at commencement is such an amazing thing to see. Which is why if people ask me what my favorite days are on campus, my first favorite day is freshman move-in day, and we'll do it differently this year because of COVID-19, but we won't lose the enthusiasm and the support and the connection. Freshman move-in day is so much fun because it's an opportunity to see students meet their roommates often for the first time. It's a chance for parents to sort of come to grips that you're leaving your son or daughter behind and then they're growing up. And I often spend a lot of time at freshman move-in day providing counseling services for forlorn parents. And I tell you, it's just an amazing experience. But my second favorite day is commencement, and to see the growth that has happened is really gratifying. And it's not only gratifying for me, but it's gratifying for our staff and certainly for our faculty. Our faculty are among the most dedicated faculty you will find anywhere. I'm convinced that Northern is the friendliest campus that you can find. We all are in this together. And we find ways to be helpful for one another, with or without COVID-19. So we're delighted that you've joined us for this first ever YouTube-based orientation. I'm going to turn this over to our Dean of Students, Greer, in just a moment. But what we're going to do is take you through as much of our normal 2.5-day process as we can during this time and try and answer as many questions as you might have. So don't be at all bashful about asking questions. Everything is fair game. I know a lot of folks have a lot of questions, and I think we'll be able to answer almost all of them. So with that, welcome, and I'll turn it over to Chris.
Great. Thank you, Fritz. The president and I will answer your questions in just a bit. You can text your questions to 906-224-2032. And if we don't get to your question tonight, you can expect an email response within the next few days. So, how does it feel? You're getting ready to send your child off to college. I have been you 4 times, and by some miracle, my kids all made it. There were some bumps along the way, but also some great adventures. My last 2 graduated from college in 2015, and they are not twins. They are 7 years apart in age, and that is a very good story. Perhaps when I see you in August, I can share that. 3 of them graduated from Northern. It was interesting, scary, and funny, and frustrating, and contrary to my parental instincts, I lost all control. I have learned so much, sometimes about things I wish I hadn't. For instance, I learned that once someone has a tattoo, there's really nothing you can say about it that will make any difference. There are many things they will do at college that will make you cringe, cry, and get angry. The upside is, if you know about it, that means they are still talking to you, using you as a sounding board, asking for your advice. The downside is, they expect you to know the right thing to say, and that's not always easy. What do we do when we get the calls that they are unhappy, failed a test, can't stand their roommate, can't find anything to eat in the cafeteria, are unsure they are in the right major, got caught with alcohol, just got a tattoo, started dating a graduate student, think taking a year off to swim with turtles in Costa Rica sounds like a good plan. And that was just my daughter. If you know her, don't tell her, I just told you all that. It is hard on us as parents, but it is okay for kids to be anxious or upset or angry or uncomfortable or sad at times. Kids need to learn what to do when things don't go well. If my child is unhappy about something, it doesn't mean I'm a bad parent, and it doesn't mean I need to fix it. Helping our students to be comfortable with being uncomfortable is actually a great gift that we can give them. It will help them cope with stress and disappointment in the future. It is important for you to start talking to your children about solving their own problems, dealing with situational anxiety and depression, taking responsibility for themselves, and learning from their mistakes. They will need these skills to thrive after college. Your student will also certainly call you with good news. News that will make you proud, make you laugh, make you think they are pretty good kids, acing a test, getting a great part-time job, becoming president of student organization, meeting their new best friend, having a great conversation with their academic advisor, and knowing exactly what they are going to do with the rest of their life. You need to think about your reaction to those calls too. They want you to be as excited as they are. We know you are important to your child's success in college. We want to work with you. That's why we do parent orientation. For your child's career, we will be a great team. Your students care greatly about what you think, and your support not only helps them emotionally, but we know that it makes a huge difference academically as well. Now is the time to start talking to your student about how they're surviving college without you. You've got about 7 weeks to get them and yourselves ready. I wrote that and I gulped when I realized it was 7 weeks. Our goal for tonight and for the series of modules that we have created for you is to help you get to know Northern so you feel comfortable leaving your child with us in August. The purpose of this next part is to get you to start thinking about important issues. The students who have already attended orientation took their first college quiz during their session. We put the link to the parent version of the quiz on the site we set up for new parents, and many of you have already answered the questions. So we can now compare the student answers with the parent answers. We will tell you how the majority answered each question. Let's see how you did. Question number 1. Members of this freshman class will each spend how much per week on entertainment and incidental expenses during their first semester in college? The parents said $30. And the students said $20. So yay, you must be applauding right now. They're going to spend less than you thought they'd spend. I don't know if that's realistic, though. I think that $20 a week is cheap. But maybe your kids are really going to be thrifty, so yay for you. Okay, number 2. My roommate and I will be most likely to disagree about. Parents said, D, having other people as guests in the room. But the students said, C, how early or late they sleep. I don't know, maybe they have siblings that they're sharing a room with and that's a real concern for them. We don't always see that answer. Cleanliness level is often the answer that the students give us, which I always laugh about too, but anyway, they're thinking about what's going to bother them. There's a study that was put out, and about 40% of incoming students have issues with their roommate. Not monumental, but have some kind of disagreements with their roommate. So you might want to be prepared for that. It's not the end of the world if they have some issues with their roommates. Okay, number 3, the one you've probably been waiting for. Alcohol use, if any, by members of this freshman class. So the parents said 1 to 3 drinks a week. The students said 0 drinks a week. Okay, that's usually the source of much laughter, but it is kind of nice. I think they probably figured somebody was going to look at this, right? They knew somebody was going to be looking at their response. But really, at Northern, whenever we do our climate surveys, about 30% of our students, and that's all ages of students, say they haven't had a drink in 30 days. And so that's 22-year-olds too. We do all of our programming not based on alcohol use. So there's plenty for students to do on campus without alcohol. And if they don't want to drink, they shouldn't feel pressured to drink. And there's lots of help for them on campus if they need help. So that's usually the source of great amusement at orientation. Okay, number 4. I have declared, the percentage of entering freshmen who have declared an academic major or plan to declare one during orientation. The parents said 50%. The students, however, 90% of them said they have already declared a major. Now, probably about 50% of them will change their major before classes start. As Fritz said, we expect that. We work with students who want to change their majors. It's not a big deal for us to deal with that. But 90% of them have chosen a major. That's quite high. We usually see it more around 78%. So a little different this year. Okay, number 5. Freshmen intend to contact their parents how many times during their first semester? Parents said, B, 2 or 3 times per week. The students said, B. Oh, same answer, B, 2 or 3 times per week. Okay, so yay, you win, except that the studies show that students contact their parents 10 to 15 times a day. And because think about texting, and they're so used to being with you that they text a lot, and you'll probably text them a lot. So that's something to keep in mind. What do you expect? You probably don't expect once per semester, but you might want to ask your students what they're thinking about contacting you. How often do they think that you want them to hear? You want to hear from them. But that's a good talking point for this summer. Okay, question number 6. Freshmen plan to study how many hours per week during their first semester of enrollment? Parents said 16 to 25, and the students said 16 to 25. So you're really happy, right? Because that's way more than they studied in high school. 16 to 25 hours sounds like a lot of time, but it's not enough time. The rule of thumb in college is that they should study 2 hours for every credit hour. So if they're carrying a 16 credit load, they should be studying 32 hours a week. And that goes up if they're taking hard science classes. So our physics department will tell you that students that are taking physics should study 3 or 4 hours for every credit hour that they're in physics. So It sounds good right now, but that's a good conversation to have with your student and ask them what they're thinking and then maybe give them the reality. It's very important for them to study and put those hours in. The frightening part of this answer was that a little over 21% of the students said they were planning to study only 5 to 15 hours. Not enough. So it's a good conversation to have. Okay, number 7. Which of the following subjects is likely to cause the greatest amount of disagreement between freshmen and their parents? Parents said B, grades and studying. Students said money. So it's good for you because they're conscious of that, right? They're worried about maybe the amount they're going to spend or how much college is costing them, so that's good that they're thinking about it. You, however, are more concerned about the grades that they're going to get and how much time are they studying. And I preceded that question by telling you that you need to talk to them about how much they study. So I would say it's a good question to ask them once they're here, but maybe not grill them on it because you don't want them to rebel against studying as much as they have to rebel or have to study. Okay, number 8, the grade point average that they expect to earn fall semester. Parents resoundingly said B. Students said A. Congratulations. 49% of your children think that they're going to get an A. Yay. I love that. Their expectations are higher than yours, so yay. But again, that all goes back to the studying thing, right? If they think they're going to get an A studying 5 to 15 hours a week, they're mistaken. So now we help them with all this too, and we're talking to them about this at orientation, but it does help us if you reinforce this information with them. Okay, number 9. I expect to earn my college degree in okay, parents said 8 semesters, 4 years. Of course you did. Students said 8 semesters, 4 years. They know what you want, right? They're very good at that. The reality of the situation is that nationwide, only about 40% of students finish in 4 years. And that's okay. A lot of programs, it does take 5.5 years to complete. You just need to be talking to your sons and daughters. I always tell the story about one of my kids who changed his major 3 times, did a semester abroad, and never took a summer class, and he graduated in exactly 4 years with exactly the number of credits that he needed, not 1 credit more. So he was determined, and he did it. So, and he had all those great experiences. So they just need to stay on it and talk to their advisor about how to do that and how to stay on track. Okay, and the last question, greatest concern for the freshmen as they anticipate this fall. The student said, the parent response was all of the above, and the student response was all of the above. They're worried. It's not abnormal for them to be worried. This is a stressful thing to go off to college. One of the things that we notice about students as they're getting ready to go off to college is that they're thinking about everything in a heightened way, and so the reality may not be as bad as they're envisioning, but these are just all really good things to talk about as we get on in the summer. So I hope that was helpful and that you enjoyed it. We hope you're starting to think about the tough issues so that you write them down. Write down these things that you want to talk to your kids about. And you have like 6 or 7 weeks to do it, so good luck. Okay, now we're ready to start answering questions that we've received. So we received some in advance, and then we've been receiving some throughout this program. So Fritz is going to answer the questions, and I'll chime in if he needs my help. But honestly,
You'll chime in a lot.
Okay. Really, this is his favorite thing, so he loves this. So, okay, we'll start out maybe with some softballs.
Oh, good.
Okay, all right. So the housing video said that move-ins begin August 8. When will we know the exact date for my child? Do you know that?
You know, it's somewhere around then.
Yeah.
You're better off answering this one, Chris.
We're working on the schedule for that. So the idea is that students will sign up for times because we're going to be doing COVID testing, and we want to move students into the residence halls in a thoughtful manner. So we don't want to move roommates in at the same time unless we have to make an exception for some reason. But the idea would be not to have people in close proximity until we know that they're COVID negative. So it will be out on the housing website. I'm not sure the exact date that it will be out there, but students will be able to sign up for move-in times, and then we'll stagger those with roommates and suite mates. And the other thing that will allow us to do is acclimate some students earlier that may, so like athletes may come in on the early side of that, where some other students come in later. The dining will be open on August 8th, so everybody will be able to eat, which often is the next question. But we will feed everybody once we start moving them in. Okay, sorry, I guess that wasn't a softball. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Well, the important thing here is that we're really focused in on housing issues right now in terms of making sure that we have the safe and effective mechanisms for testing everyone as they come in, and then making sure that we move in folks as safely and expeditiously as possible. I will say this, one of the things about our housing is they're designed in such a way that it makes this all very possible. So they've got all the carts, they've got all the mechanisms to do this, the support and the help to make this all happen. And so I have every confidence that move-in won't be what many remember as this, giant mass of people trying to move in all at one time. We'll have it laid out in such a way and still be able to accommodate individual needs.
Okay. Since parents can't help with move-in, I'm considering letting my daughter drive herself, but I'm worried it will be emotional and confusing to tackle on her own. Am I overreacting?
I wouldn't say overreacting, and these are normal concerns that students have. But if they drive up on their own, rest assured a couple of things. One, the moment they pull up on campus, they'll be taken care of. That's our commitment. Students will come in, they'll go right through the testing process. From that point forward, there will be someone there to help guide them, support them, help them get in through the moving process. About the only thing I haven't figured out how we'll do is help students color coordinate their sheets and stuff that they seem to be very concerned about. That's going to be on them.
Do we need a parking permit during move-in weekend?
No. You'll be able to park. We'll get you to the right place for parking. All of that will go very smoothly.
There's a lot of COVID questions, as you can imagine. Will students be allowed to leave campus to travel home before term ends?
We would like and advise them not to do that. We changed the start of the academic year to begin earlier so that we could get students here to stay here and be done by Thanksgiving. So if we can have students stay with us. Now, one of the great things about Northern is one of the complaints that I've received from families has been, my son or daughter doesn't want to come home. And it's because we don't have a very big commuter population. Our students come here, they stay here. One of my favorite stories is a couple of years ago, a parent called me up and she was just beside herself because it was October and her daughter hadn't made it home yet. And she wanted me to go find her daughter and tell her to come home for a visit to her parents. And I didn't want to get too much into sort of like why or, people's personal family dynamics. But I finally said, kind of thinking, well, it's far away and so forth. And I said, well, where are you from? And she said, Marquette. She doesn't want to miss all of the action and activities that are going on. One truly amazing thing about Northern is the life in our residence halls and the life in our community is so inviting, and our students don't travel much on the weekend. So many of them really want to stay here, and so we really do encourage people to stay put. We think it's safer for them, safer for our community, and besides, it's all part of the wonderful college experience that they will get.
Here's kind of a follow-up to that. If we come to campus, we live in Wisconsin, can our daughter leave campus to visit us for the day?
Of course. You're welcome to do that. We would like you not to come. You know, we put real restrictions on the living areas in the dorms, because those are our students' place of living, and we really want to limit connections there. But you're welcome to come, come for a visit. We would ask you that you follow all of the same guidelines of social distancing and mask wearing and hand washing and all the stuff that we're working very hard on to make sure that our campus is safe for everybody.
Okay, what happens if a student tests positive for COVID at move-in?
If a student tests positive for COVID at move-in, we have set aside a residence hall. That student can move into that spot for appropriate social isolation till they complete and go through the protocol, receive clearance tests, and then we'll be able to move into their regular residence hall. And so we've got a very good system set up for that. It'll be manned by our physician, headed by Dr. Chris Kirkpatrick, who will oversee all of that to make sure that those students will be well taken care of. Of course, we have all the facilities in place to feed and to support them while they're in that isolation process.
Okay, face masks.
Ooh.
Video says they are required. Are these provided by NMU? If not, what kind are allowed required? Surgical mask, homemade mask, only N95s.
So masks, hot off the press. We have purchased 20,000 of these masks. So we're going to provide every student with a couple of these masks, and we'll encourage them to wash them. To make sure that that happens. You could help us out if you encourage them to wash as well. And so masks are provided, but students can wear their own mask. They can wear homemade masks, they can wear disposable masks, they can wear, a lot of folks are wearing these wonderful bandanas, NMU bandanas. Of course, we think you should always wear a Northern branded mask.
We do. We're excited about those.
They are. They're very, very stylish. And the important part is, makes me look better.
I liked the one that was going to have Wildcat Willie's mouth on it. That was fun. But I lost.
I suspect one of the things that's going to happen is students are going to get real creative with their masks, which will encourage, we like to see that, within the bounds of good taste, of course.
Of course. But it'll be fun. Okay, what is your plan for class format for fall? All in person, all virtual, or hybrid?
All of the above. And so what's going to happen with our classes is very dependent on the type of class. And so we've gone through every classroom on campus and determined the appropriate size of the class. Most classes will allow for about 50% of the room capacity. So what we're doing is we're putting actually what we would normally put in a smaller class, actually in a bigger class, so it can accommodate the 6-foot distances and appropriate structures. We're also putting in, I wish I had stock in plexiglass, because the amount of plexiglass that we are putting in, our carpenters are working round the clock, putting up all of this. They're doing an amazing job with that. But also our classes are going to be Zoomed and other forms of remote learning depending on the type of class. So each faculty member is going to be in the position to really lay it out how it can work best for them. And if by chance a student becomes ill, we don't want students, whether they have COVID-19 or a cold, we don't want students to come to class. They'll still be able to Zoom or other forms of remote learning for that class. And of course, for anybody that needs to go into isolation for a couple of weeks, they'll still be able to keep up with their classes.
Okay, maybe one not about COVID.
Okay.
Okay. When will the fall tuition payment be due? I know that.
Outside of my area.
I know that. Right now, it was on the video that I did for parents. The date right now is August 7th. And if you watch my video, I talked about all the different payment options. So I think rather than get into that now, just watch that. And I think that'll give you a lot of information. Okay, is there a way parents can be notified of their students' grades at the end of the semester without infringing on privacy via having access to their accounts?
So your children, whether we like to admit it or not, are adults. And so the determination of who they share grades with is entirely up to them. There are opportunities for waivers so that can be sent, but that's really a conversation between you and your son or daughter.
There is, the parent goes on to say, my son mentioned something about having access by proxy. Again, that was in my presentation, so you can go back and read that. And I have several slides, 6 or 7 slides. I think I walk you right through how your son or daughter can give you that access. But it is just final grades, and I talk about that too. There are 8 things that you get access to, and that's all on in the PowerPoint. So there is a way. Our daughter is on the swim and dive team. Will sporting events be open for the public/parents to attend?
We are still waiting for directions and guidance around athletics. It's the one area that we're still just unsure of. We're trying to figure out the guidelines from the NCAA. We're figuring out the guidelines from our conferences. And so our plan as of right now, this very moment, is that fall athletics will be up and going, and we'll develop some mechanisms for fans, probably a subset of it. And so I don't know how many people can fit in for swimming and diving, but we'll develop some mechanisms for that. Truly, if we're allowed to and if it's safe to do it.
I understand we're getting a lot of questions about whether or not parents can help students move in. So,
yeah. The simple answer is sort of. You can help them unload the car into the box that they'll be able to wheel in, but we are not allowing parents or anybody other than the residents of that room to go into that room or even onto the floor. In our discussions with all of the public health officials, this was something that they really did emphasize, that needs to happen. And so you're welcome to wander around campus. There are public areas within the residence halls that you can go in. We won't make you sit in your car and not have access to a restroom. All of those things will be available, but we need to let students are going to have to move in themselves.
So I think you need to think about how much stuff then is going to be coming, because we'll have crews, who can help, but the fewer futons, the better.
Yeah, futons are kind of a tough one.
They're tough. Refrigerators are a lot easier than futons.
Yeah, I don't know, my back doesn't handle the refrigerators so well.
They're bad. Okay, more testing questions. Will we be using the rapid test or sending out the test for results?
We've contracted with a major testing firm that will be developing everybody. We should get the results on those tests within 48 hours. That will give us there are 2 reasons to do the test, and that is, of course, to test the individual. But what we really want to know is what's the prevalence, so we can have follow-up testing mechanisms put in place. Very confident with what we're doing. We have a highly regarded specialist from the recently retired from the United States government that's helping us really make sure the protocols we have in place are the most accurate and up to date.
Okay, another COVID test question. Will we be doing virus testing or antibody testing?
We're doing virus testing at this point in time.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for encouraging a student with an IEP to take advantage of academic support?
Oh, absolutely. You know, a big part of student success on our campus is availing yourself of the myriad of services that are available, whether they're tutoring services, disability services, veteran services, academic advising, centralized advising, embedded advisors. We have, I'm forgetting half of Chris's shop here, but the amount of service that we provide is all centered on this idea of helping students succeed and to graduate. So take advantage of those services, whether or not you have an IEP or not. The other thing I would suggest, and that is, there are three things I often talk about that lead to college success, to graduation. The first of them is to pick a major, for students to pick a major for which they have a real passion. There is no question about it that college is a lot of work, and that first semester in with all the studying that Chris talked about and so forth, it's a great deal of work. No way around it. But if you choose a major, or if your sons and daughters choose a major for which they have a real passion, the concept of work takes on a very different meaning. I mean, we see students in computer science labs at 2 in the morning when they don't have to be there because they have a passion for it, or they're in the art labs, or they're studying with folks in the English department because that's their passion. And so choosing a major for which you have a real passion, in my mind, is one of the most important things. Second thing, and every student should remember this, our faculty are here in large part because they like the direct personal interaction with students. We have faculty from among the most prestigious institutions in the country. The people that we turn down are from the most prestigious institutions in the country. These are highly sought after positions, and the reason our faculty come here, if you ask them, they will almost always tell you the same two things. One, they will say, I'm here because I have a real desire to work with these students, to get to know them beyond just knowing someone's name. They want to get to know them as people and guide them, and you know, it's just very much who they are. The other reason they're here is because of the particular lifestyle that we get to live here in Marquette and in the Upper Peninsula. This is truly an extraordinary place. I've spent an academic life all over the country, and this is the most amazing place I've ever been. When you're here and you decide to walk downtown, please don't freak out when people say, hi, how you doing? Why are you here? What can I do to help you? It's just, there's a culture here that's embraced by our faculty. The last thing I would say is probably the most important, and that is get involved. College is a whole lot more than just show up to class and see if you can pass midterms and finals. College is really about the totality of the experience. And the more students are involved, clubs and organizations and other things, the greater their chance of graduating. It may sound counterproductive that, oh, you know, I don't have time to study because I'm going to go off and, I'm on the dance group, or I've decided to become a member of the Sasquatch Search Club, which I still haven't figured out what it is they do, or I guess if they find Sasquatch, what are they going to do then? But the students love doing that, being engaged. And we're launching this fall new Pick One campaign, which is really designed to get kids connected. So this is a much longer answer than I probably should have given. But reach out. We are truly here to help. We relish the opportunity to help your sons and daughters.
Okay. What mental health resources exist on campus?
Yeah, very important question. Mental health is a very serious issue for us. And we have an extraordinary counseling center on campus that can provide, the whole host of support services where students can make appointments, where they can be engaged in sort of long-term mental health issues. They can also drop in crisis, that we have those. But we also have a host of other things. One of the most important groups are the RAs in the dorms. They provide, they're an amazing resource, very well trained and prepared to help students to identify challenges and get them to the kind of support that they need. And sometimes, mental health issues arise out of another issue that happens. I'm stressed over my grades and now I've got all this stress. Maybe there's things that can be getting involved with the tutoring centers, the writing centers, the math center, all of those kinds of things are there. Thing I would say is just please, please ask for a little bit of help and we'll be there to help.
Absolutely. What is the number one reason for freshmen dropping out of school?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know the number one reason because I think it varies from student to student. It's a very personal thing. Some students just are plain homesick and just need to, I probably shouldn't put it this way, but kind of gut it out for that first 6-8 weeks. Yeah. We see that if they stay and seek to be engaged, then that will help. I think the students that drop out don't find that sense of belonging. And yet there's so many, I think we have 350 some odd student organizations. Encourage that kind of connection because that helps students stay engaged and provides a support mechanism, in my mind, that's just absolutely extraordinary.
Because upperclassmen live in the same dorm and share a suite with freshmen, are there instances of hazing the freshmen by the upperclassmen?
We don't see much of it. I mean, that's just not part of the culture here. The culture here in the Upper Peninsula is about helping one another. If you decide to bring a car and get stuck in a snowbank, if somebody doesn't stop and help you within the first 4 minutes, I think it'd make front page news. I mean, this is who we are as a community. We stop, we help, we support. We just see very few hazing incidents, and if we find a hazing incident, it is treated very, very seriously.
I haven't seen any hazing of freshmen by upperclassmen in the residence halls. I haven't seen any instances of that, so very, very true, thankfully. One of your favorite questions. Do first-year students need to have cars?
Oh. The answer is they're welcome to bring a car. So we'll get that right off. Should they bring a car is another thing. And there are two things that will happen if your freshman brings a car. First thing is they will become the Uber driver for their dorm room floor. And you can ask anybody, when they bring a car and nobody else has one, they're the ones that pile 8 people in to run up to Myers or run downtown or, or hey, let's run over to the falls. And so they become the driver. So just know if they bring a car, that's going to happen. The second thing is it does snow here. And so what tends to happen is it's all well and good until you just get sick of shoveling that car out from the snow. And then it builds up and it builds up and it turns to ice. And we will see in our parking lot at times you know, in the heart of February, where there's a big pile there with a car underneath. In fact, a couple of years ago, I just thought it was comical. Our public safety officers had to go around with orange cones and put them on top of snow piles so the plow drivers wouldn't hit the car that's underneath it. They get tired of digging it up. But if they are going to bring a car, the number one most important thing, bring a shovel. Because we'll provide a lot of help, but you know, there's only so much help we can provide. And when we run those plows down the rows of the parking lots and plow them in like your driveways at home get plowed in, that happens over and over. It makes for a wonderful Saturday trying to dig a car out.
Hopefully you have help, but
yes. Yeah, usually, I mean, there are a lot of people, again, that help. We saw during this winter, we had whole groups of students just walk around with shovels, digging people out that they didn't know, just so when they came out of their room, you know, to shovel, the car was cleaned up. How cool is that?
Yeah, good kids here. Here's a question from someone whose daughter has a life-threatening nut allergy and is concerned about being able to find food that she's able to eat, cross-contamination. She understands from watching our videos that extra care is taken in the kitchen, but she's concerned about where the ingredients come from and whether those places have taken precautions.
So we treat that very, very seriously. In fact, in our dining hall, Northern Lights Dining, we have a special room for those that have a variety of allergies. And you just can't walk into that room. You have to meet with our registered dietitian who will lay out meal plans and options and then provide that student access into that room. That's how we've been able to manage it. They've managed it very, very well. And to my knowledge, since we've installed that room and set this process up, it's been incredibly safe for our students.
We do have a dietitian on campus, so if you have specific questions, I can get you his email address and telephone number, and you can call him directly, and he'll be happy to talk with you about any questions about allergies. Do the new Team Alpine ski racers have access to academic help, paid or unpaid?
Any student here has access to more academic help than you can shake a stick at. I mean, every student, we really do encourage students to reach out and get academic help. And I will personally look forward to skiing with the new Alpine ski team, although I'm going to be a little slower.
Probably.
Probably. Yeah, no, there's no probability in that.
What programs does NMU have to support students with ADD? So you want me to take that one?
Yeah, why don't you take that one?
All right, so we have a disability services office, and any student with a disability should contact that office as soon as possible to get in the pipeline for services. There's information on that website about what we do for students with disabilities, classroom accommodations. So that could be extended time for testing in a quiet room, assistance with the note-taking. There's a variety of things. And our coordinator of disability services really can answer those questions much better based on your student's documentation. So just feel free to start that conversation as soon as you can. I think you answered this, Fritz. Where will students reside while waiting for their COVID test results?
Yeah, we've set aside one whole residence hall right now for the just in case. Spalding Hall, it's really set up well.
Okay. I don't know the answer to this. Sorry. Maximum size of package allowed by mail. I don't think there is a maximum size.
I don't know. I think we have a direct pipeline to Amazon. I mean, the amount of packages that come in.
Yeah, and they're big. If it, I think what you're thinking about is the mailbox size, and that doesn't matter. The packages are just held behind the desk, so there is no size limit. Okay. I don't know. Oh, if it turns out that there are no spectators or only very few allowed, will there be any way for students to still view the games, especially hockey?
Well, especially hockey, answer is yes. We have probably the finest broadcasting system. I know for a fact anywhere in our conference, but I'd put up what we do in terms of broadcasting, and we broadcast all the games that are in our arena with anybody in the country. We have ESPN quality equipment, and the students that manage this are, I mean, the talent level is extraordinary. So yes.
Do they have to bring their own mattresses for the dorms?
No.
How about desks?
No.
Yep.
No mattresses, no desks need to be brought in. In fact, we have some of when we built our new residence halls, the one thing, there was no scrimping on mattresses. Yeah. These are among the best mattresses you can possibly buy. And so, because we like people to stay there.
Yes. Will students need medical insurance cards to use the medical center on campus?
No, they don't need a medical insurance card. They can just walk right in, and they'll be taken care of.
Will students be expected to wear masks in the classroom or when attending sporting events or other activities?
Maybe. How's that for a good answer for the day?
Yeah.
We're still working out some of the details that go with masks and so forth. I think a lot depends on how all the plexiglass goes in place, how the restructuring of the classrooms are, and so forth. I'm confident that students will have to wear masks in any public areas. So if you're walking down the hall, passing other people, sitting in a public area, you're in the many study lounges that are open to the public, we really will be pressing the use of masks. Still trying to figure out sort of in the classrooms. And we should have an answer to that in another week or so. What we're interested in doing is striking the right balance with this. We want people to be safe, and we want them to wear masks. What we don't know is whether mandating masks in every situation is actually going to work or not. And so we'll have a definitive answer to that question pretty quick.
When should my son apply for student loans?
Now?
Yeah. Yeah. There is a financial aid presentation, a module that the director of financial aid did, so that's on your parent website. And I'm sure he talked about filling out your FAFSA and getting that in. There is no deadline for that, by the way. The preferred date is March 1, but we give financial aid out to students year-round, so there is no definite deadline. So yes, now the FAFSA should be filled out and submitted so that loans can be in place for the fall.
And we certainly encourage everyone to fill out the FAFSA, because if there are scholarships that your son or daughter is interested in, without a FAFSA, they may be eligible for something and receive something, but we can't do it. So regardless of income, it's worth taking a little bit of time to fill out the FAFSA.
Absolutely. My daughter has a class that ends late in the evening. How safe is it for her walking campus by herself?
This is a two-part answer. So the first part of the answer is Northern and Marquette are one of the safest campuses and communities anywhere in the country. We are consistently rated as one of the safest places to be. The problem that we have is that it's easy to get complacent because we are so safe. And so the idea of walking across campus late at night is not a good idea. And in fact, if my wife sees someone walking across campus by themselves, she may get out of the car and say, look it, I'm calling your parents, because we want everybody to stay safe. We want to maintain that high level of safety. It's very important to to who we are, and we provide wonderful services. If your daughter is, late class and needs to walk by themselves, all they have to do is call public safety, and another student will be right over to walk them across campus. And
we have blue light phones on campus. Watch the police department module, and they'll go through all of our safety precautions that we have on campus. What types of support services do you have for students of color?
We have several important support services. First, we have our Multicultural Education Resource Center. We have the work done by our truly amazing Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. We have multiple clubs and organizations and opportunities for engagement, and where students of color have an opportunity to be engaged with one another. And we strive to be very inclusive in that. And so there are multiple opportunities for engagement depending on what your son or daughter is most interested in.
Okay, what are the programs and/or facilities available for students to exercise?
A lot. Of course, we have the PEEF, the Physical Education Instructional Facility, which students can go in and they can ride the bikes and play basketball and sort of all of those kinds of workout facilities. The other thing we did a couple of years ago is our students said, we would like a workout facility that's real close to where we live. I guess they didn't want to walk across campus over the workout facility, which seemed a little odd to me, but anyway, and we have that, the Fit Zone, very popular place, limited only to students. So they won't let anybody else in there other than the students, and it's become a very popular place for students to hang out. The other thing I would point out is we have a wonderful arrangement with a trail system here in Marquette called the Noccominon Trail Network, NTN for short, where we provide all of our students with access to fat tire bikes and cross-country skis and snowshoes. And when you come to Northern, if you don't engage and give those things a try, you have really missed out on something. And the fat tire bikes are just a hoot. Summer, winter. I mean, to ride around on those things, to be riding a bike in the dead of winter is just an amazing thing through the trails. It's spectacularly beautiful to do. So, wide range of activities, as well as intramurals and clubs and, you name it, we have it.
Will we be able to shop for NMU bandanas and the like while dropping off freshmen?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We love shoppers.
Yes.
The bookstore's open to everybody. You'll have an opportunity to go there. And I encourage you to buy a lot.
Oh, we like that. I've heard of COVID tuition relief. What are the requirements and how does one apply?
This is a good question for tomorrow, actually. Our Board of Trustees is in town today, and they will be announcing some relief dollars directly for students that I expect, because they have to vote on this, but our expectation is the board is going to provide some pretty amazing support directly for our students that will not require any applications for it. Whether it's some dollars going directly into a student's account, some dollars we expect we'll be sending students a direct check so they make sure that they have additional dollars to support expenses that are related to COVID-19.
Do the residence halls have a curfew?
Unfortunately, no.
No.
I mean, I think back to the time that I was in school, and if you weren't in by 11:30, you were locked out. So just shows how old I am.
Things have changed.
Things have changed.
Do you have shuttles that take students shopping off campus?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
So shuttle day for like Walmart and Meijer and Target is on Fridays, and so they run up And then, of course, if you have a freshman that brought a car up, they'll be the Uber driver for you.
Right. When we remained open March, April into May, and the shuttles were changed a little bit, so there were more frequent shuttles because we would only allow 3 people on the bus. I think it was 3 for social distancing. So we'll have to see how that works. But yes, they're still planning to do that on Friday afternoons. Are you planning to still have all the intramural activities?
The answer right now is yes. Again, we'll have to look at that, and we're still trying to evaluate what kind of social distancing is allowed, but at this point in time, we haven't canceled any intramural activities, although I just don't know the answer to that. I think, I start to worry a little bit about, rugby, some of those, but we're just kind of waiting and seeing what the regulations are.
And does our daughter need to have her own bike to get around campus?
No, we're a very walkable campus, although also we're a very rideable campus. And so a lot of students have bikes. We have wonderful bike racks, and they're very popular. Great thing to have, but certainly not required.
Our student government does have a bike program, a bike share program. So they usually have 15 to 20 bikes, and students can check them out at the library and use them. I don't know, it used to be 3 days. I'm not sure what they're doing now, but, and they're kept well maintained, et cetera. So, okay, let me see if we have more questions. Oh, yes. At winter break, is there a shuttle to the airport? Are there any NMU bus services to get kids downstate?
We don't run shuttle services at this point to the airport, although I'm not aware anybody has ever had a problem hooking a ride out to the airport. Again, what happens is this becomes a very supportive community, and people make these connections and are able to work those things out. It's just always worked well. As far as the shuttle service downstate, no, we don't do it. We thought a lot about it, but the reality is, because students make these connections, they like to do a lot of ride sharing. And so, on transition points and so forth. Now, of course, we're really hoping they stay here and stay put through the semester. We think it's going to contribute to the vitality of the institution, as well as help be one of the mechanisms that keeps our students safe.
Okay, and we've had a lot of questions about this. Will students move in before the 48-hour test results come back? Or do we need a hotel?
No, the answer is they will move in.
Yes.
And so we're all set up for it, and we think the sequencing of how we move in will allow students to be able to maintain quite a bit of social distancing. And if, heaven forbid, somebody comes up and does test positive, we have very elaborate systems in place for contact tracing that will allow that to happen. So we're feeling pretty confident that students will be able to get the test. We'll get the results back within 48 hours. Quite frankly, our expectation is going to be a lot faster than that. But we need students, and we'll want students to move just straight into their residence hall.
Will students be allowed to work off campus?
Yes, students are very welcome. And I know members in the community are anxious to have our students back to work off campus. They provide a very important workforce. And so what we do, of course, ask our students, if they're working off campus, is do the same things we're doing on campus. Wear a mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing. If we do that together, I feel really good we're going to be in good shape.
Will students be able to have overnight visitors in the dorms?
Not right now. Right. We need to leave the residence hall occupied by just the residents. If things change next semester, we're happy to revisit it. But at this point in time, we really ask that no overnight visitors.
Does Marquette have Uber or Lyft?
I think we have Dave, don't we?
I think we have Dave.
I think there's one Lyft one lift in town?
Well, I actually heard that now there's more.
Oh, really?
But
I haven't
I've
heard
that, but I cannot attest to it myself. But I have heard we have more Lyft. Dave was Uber, and now, but I've heard we've got some Lyft things going on. So I don't know. But the students really walk most places.
They do. You know, campus is stone's throw from downtown where students like to go, and so students just don't have a difficult time getting around.
How long should parents anticipate hanging around campus to make sure students will move in, and that he doesn't need to take anything back home?
Oh, you know, that's a great, actually, it's a great question. Because what often happens is you bring everything and then realize it's not going to fit. My advice would be let them move in. They'll get the stuff in. They'll get a good sense. You'll need time to adjust anyway and, you know, become emotionally ready to make the trip out of town. And you'll need the long goodbyes. And so give them a little bit of time. Enjoy the campus, though, when you're here. You know, get out and walk around. We have, I think, an extraordinarily beautiful campus. Go down to the lake, you know. You can make sure you cruise, go right around Presque Isle. Look at the town. You'll have plenty to do while they're moving in, and then they can call you and come back over, and then, you know, you can do 3 hours of goodbyes or something.
I always tell parents that they shouldn't stick around for more than one overnight, because what happens is your children will want to hang out with you because you're taking them out to dinner and they're swimming in your pool at the hotel, et cetera, and you're taking them to Target. And so that's kind of fun. But where we really want them to be is in the residence halls, meeting new people and hanging out. And they're going to have more time actually to do that than they usually do. So that'll be kind of nice. And that we hope that they're really well acclimated by the time the first day of classes come around. So hang out, but maybe not like for a week. Okay.
Well, I would say this, just one of the things about our residence halls is that we have this house concept. You may very well have heard about it. And every house is about 50 students, and every house has a resident advisor. And if you ask our resident advisor what their job is, I'm always amazed they give me this answer. And they said, our job is to make sure everyone is included. And so they have a lot of activities and ways of engaging students, and they want people to feel at home and connected and supported right away. So they work very hard, and they have elaborate kinds of things that they do to create that environment.
Okay, we had a lot of very, very specific housing questions. So I'm going to allow the housing staff to respond via email to those questions because we don't know. I mean, we don't know that kind of detail. So we'll do that. Oh, here's a good question though. If we bought the student a bike, is there a rack to keep it in, or does it have to go into the dorm room?
No, we prefer you use the rack. We have great racks.
Yeah. We do.
Sounds odd, but...
Yeah, but we do. Okay, so I think we're going to end it there, Fritz. I think we're good. I think we've come to the end of most of the questions that I'm not going to farm out to other offices.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, I appreciate this very much.
Okay.
Kind of fun.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. We're doing it 2 more times, so I'm glad we liked it.
No, this is such wonderful questions. Yeah. I would leave you, though, with just kind of one thought, and that if you come away with anything is know that we are very committed to, as I've talked before, the success of your sons and daughters and their well-being, their physical well-being, their safety, their, we want to see them grow and develop. And we do need your help, though, because we want to make sure that our students are safe. And so the more conversations you can have with them about how to be safe in college, about how to stay in control. The number one safety issue I raise regularly is stay in control. If you make choices, that are going to involve drugs or alcohol, I can't stop you from making those, your children from making those choices. But if you stay in control, life is a lot safer. Virtually every serious problem we have is someone that just lost sight of that. So have that discussion. It doesn't have to be sort of threatening or, you know, how awful this. No, you just have a great conversation about it. And the last thing is, and I just always feel compelled to remind people that we live in one of the most beautiful places on Earth. And part of that is because we have this amazing lake. And the thing about the lake is it's a real magnet, but it can also be dangerous. And so remind people about how to behave around a big body of water. So I never feel like I've done my job unless I've said that.
That was in my video too.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so
I never leave that out either.
Yeah, I just, listen, I've held hands of parents whose daughters have died because they didn't pay attention to the lake. So be serious about it.
And we talked about cold safety too.
Yes, very important.
So I want to thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you enjoyed it and are feeling a little better about leaving your student with us in August. If you have additional questions, you can keep submitting them at the link in the description of the session, and we'll have somebody on staff respond as soon as possible. Good night. Thank you.